So we're now into chapter 5, and in chapter 5 we are going to be creating the views that we are going to be using inside of Layout. Now the views are generated from the SketchUp model, and then they are referenced back to the sheets inside of Layout. So we've got some 3D views, we've got some site plan and location plan views. We've also got on the next sheet some floor plans and elevations. These are at 1 to 100, these are at 1 to 50. We've got some more different types of floor plans and different styled elevations. And then we've got some sections and some details. Now we'll be building on the details in the next series, but we will be concentrating on that at length. So if we just come back to our sort of cover sheet, what we're going to put onto this are a series of 3D layouts, the location plan, which is based on a different file, and then the site plan, which is based on our house model. So in SketchUp, we've got this one. So this is our location plan. We don't really need to create any scenes for this because it's just a simple top view, which is set orthographically. We set the scale inside of Layout. So as long as this is drawn to an appropriate scale inside of SketchUp, then the scales should tally. But if you did want to create one, then you can go Window and Scenes, and that's going to bring up our Scene Manager, and then click on the plus sign to add a scene. Let's call this Location Plan, and then hit Enter to set that. So when we reference this back, we can call up the scene, or we could use a standard top view and set it orthographically. However, it gets a bit more complicated when we get to this one. Now I've made a start on this by creating the site plan, but I'll just delete it. I'll say yes to that, and we'll go through the whole process of doing it. I'll just turn on some layers, so slices, backdrop, and backdrop 2. So I'll turn those back on, and we'll just go to a 3D view. So this is kind of what we've got. And if you've got access to the premium files, then you'll get this one in the chapter 501 folder. So the camera set to parallel, just flick it back to perspectives. This is where we really need to start from. So our site plan is going to be looking straight down on top of the house, and it's going to be set to a parallel projection. Now you can't see some of the stuff that's now looking as a sort of pixel thick line going down there, but we do know that they're on a specific layer, and we'll turn those layers off. So the layers that these things are linked back to, let's see if I can pick up this third one. There you go. There, and these two. These are all on backdrop 2. So if I turn that off, then they're gone. This one is on backdrop 1, so I'll turn that off. And these ones are on slices, so I'll turn that off as well. So now I'm going to create the first scene on this many-scened drawing. Ultimately, we'll be creating all the elevations, the floor plans, the sections from this one model. So with our scene dialog box, we'll click on the plus to add scene. We'll call this site plan. And we've got the shadows turned on. I've got the shadow settings dialog box here. That's window and shadows. So if you want to change the shadow location, then you do that by adjusting the sliders. Now we've went through all of this in the first series, but just for a recap, that's how you do that. If you don't want to see the shadows, then you can turn them off. If you would prefer just a little bit of tone where the sort of sun is in shade, then you can use this one, use sun for shading. That's going to sort of slightly darken these areas which are in shade. My preference is to go for the shadows. If you wanted to show any shadow falling onto the sort of ground, then click on this one, and that's going to set the shadow onto the ground. But personally, again, I prefer just to stop it at the edge of the drawing. And once you've created this view, any changes you make to this now can be updated. Generating thumbnails, so I might turn that function off later on because it's going to take a little bit of extra time, but that's it. So we can zoom in on this. This is our first scene, updated again. So I'll just turn it off this time so we don't see it again. For the rest of this chapter, we'll just be creating the remaining views that we will be using in Layout.